Renault is slated to launch two new products in the Indian market, one of which is the sedan, the Fluence, which we've driven earlier on the Autocar show, and this is the second, this SUV called the Koleos. It is based on the Nissan X-Trail platform, which we have seen in the Indian market already, but now it's time to check out what the Koleos is like. The Koleos is a joint effort of Renault Nissan and Samsung Motors of Korea. While Renault was in charge of styling the Koleos, they also had to keep the Korean market in mind. In its road-going form, it has a snub-nosed look thanks to an unconventional grille. It has the Renault logo sitting on a white panel that splits the grille. Underneath it sits the plain bumper with a silver chin guard. The end result is an SUV that isn't very striking or handsome. From the side too, the Koleos looks quite plain. The roofline has a sleek and sporty feel to it, but the truth is that the Koleos is a crossover SUV rather than a traditional butch SUV. And you can see that since it has only 188mm of ground clearance. The rear end styling won't win any pageants either. The organic shaped taillights stretch from the tailgate onto the flanks. The one highlight of the rear is the way the black border for the rear windscreen flows downwards to surround the Renault logo. And when you open the boot, you have another nice surprise. There's a split tailgate. When the car is parked, the lower half can double up as a picnic table or a bench for two. The luggage space is also average at 450 litres. If you need more storage, then the seats can be flipped forward at the pull of a single lever to get a completely flat floor. When you get inside the Koleos, you see that the interior design plays it safe and isn't very striking. The dashboard feels particularly bland with a melted wax feel to it. It's only the center screen that pops out and offers some relief. The center console with the layout of the switches is the only stylish feature here. However, the colors are classy and there is a nice and airy feel to the interiors. On the plus side, the build quality and fit and finish is very good. It's much better than other Korean-made cars. It also comes loaded with equipments like auto-on headlamps and wipers, Bluetooth connectivity and a great music system. It also gets a classy multimedia and navigation controller between the front seats. The back seat of the Koleos is a nice place to be as there is a good amount of space and the hip point is high. However, just like the Nissan X-Trail, there are no third row of seats. And when you get into the business seat, things are very good. The seating position is high and you get a commanding view of the road ahead. Adding punch to the proceedings is the 2-litre common rail diesel motor that we have also seen in the X-Trail before. Loaded with variable valve timing and 150 bhp on tap, this free revving motor is a punchy unit, but it does have a couple of issues.
Now when you're driving at lower speeds, you have to be a little careful because the gear shift feels a little rubbery and the clutch pedal is a bit tricky. If you don't watch out, you can end up stalling the car.
At low speeds, the motor feels a bit sluggish, but once you get past the 2000 RPM mark, it really comes into its own. In fact, the company claims that the Koleos generates its robust 32.6 kilograms of torque at 2000 RPM itself.
But once you hit the highway, it's incredible how quick the Koleos feels. The turbocharged engine delivers power in a massive rush.
Renault claims that the Koleos can accelerate from 0 to 100 in 9.9 seconds, and that is pretty quick for an SUV of this size. It also has a claimed top speed of 189 km an hour. Driving on the French country roads, the Koleos was able to run free, and it gave us a good chance to see how the McPherson strut front suspension and the independent multi-link at the rear would cope when driven enthusiastically.
Well, the Koleos is certainly not the most satisfying vehicle to drive fast.
That's because the suspension has been set up on the soft side, so when you pilot the Koleos around with enthusiasm, it rolls around a fair bit. It doesn't like to be hustled around corners and feels quite understeery as well. And while the electric steering is pretty direct, it just doesn't feel very sporty.
However, the ride is quite good, and even broken roads don't bother the Koleos, which is really a good thing for those on the inside.
Even on less than perfect roads, the Koleos showed great composure, feeling very smooth and settled. Ride quality is going to be a huge plus when the Koleos hits up pothole-strewn roads. Renault is planning to bring the Koleos to India in the latter half of 2011. So is it something you should wait for?
Well, what are the things that work in the Koleos' favor? First off, I have to say the interiors. They're well spec'd. You have good, comfortable seats in the front, and even the passengers in the rear will be comfortable for the long haul. And talking of long haul, the driver gets a punchy diesel motor that loves to be revved, and given an opportunity will just run away with things. So it's really great to drive in that sense. On the flip side, it's not that fun to throw around corners, it's not all that enthusiastic. And the other thing is the third row of seats. Just like the Nissan X-Trail, this doesn't have a 7-seater configuration. And then of course is the looks. In India, people expect an SUV to look butch and mean and big. The Koleos feels a little soft given those parameters. However, Renault know that the most important thing is the price tag, which is why they're thinking of bringing in a two-wheel drive version of the Koleos at an expected price tag of 14 lakh rupees. And at that price point, the Koleos will really be hard to ignore.
Right after this break, we bring you all the hot and exciting cars from the Geneva Motor Show.